Our next game is going to be on Point of Reach version 4, and this is going to be a super complicated map to play indeed. It's a large one. There's a lot of stuff going on. You're going to have to push your APM to the limit to keep up with what is going on. And of course, we've got Jagged Appliance on the north and Whiteheart on the south. So this should be two extremely good players versus each other that have the APM to deal with the map size. Jagged Appliance dropping first land factory as Cybrin. He's going to pick up a little manual reclaim on these trees. Don't forget, tree clumps are 10 mass, 100 power apiece, and therefore can boost you to great heights in the early stages of the game. And then on the south side, we've got Whiteheart going for first land, got a PGen, a few mass extractors, and then the Hydro. So it looks like to me, Petrick is going for the power generator and straight to the Hydro, whereas Jagged Appliance is using Reclaim with his early engineers to get his power level up enough to go for the Hydro without stalling, even though he has walking distance involved. It's arguable that Petrick's is still slightly more efficient because you have that power output online earlier, but I think that Jagged Appliance can at least make this work. Hydro's going down, then we've got second air factory. I would imagine the same thing is happening on the south side. Yes, indeed, it is. A little bit of extra power before the air factory. This is more than is necessary. So probably going to see transports out extremely early from both of these players. You need the transports because this is a 20K map. And these islands are very, very far away. And you want to drop as much of the islands as you possibly can to get that mass online early. Now, as far as the traditional expansions go, of course, you're going to get these two islands devoted to the players that are in those positions. These two are much more up for grabs. And I have seen a game before where someone managed to get both of these, and then it turned into a very long and drawn out loss, let's just say. But if you try to drop both of them and build on both of them, then there is always the possibility that your forces will be spread so thin and your economy will be spread so thin that you will not be able to succeed in holding them. Navy is going to play a very important role on this game, of course, because almost the entire map is accessible to Navy. There's not really any safe zones. There are some areas where firing is difficult, but between the Salems for Jagged Appliance and the cruisers for Seraphim on Whiteheart's side, they're both going to be able to destroy pretty much anything on the entire map. Looks like we've got engineers walking to expand on the bottom left and top right. Whiteheart going to cap 3 of those mexes, and then the engineer moving over to the right will be able to pick up the expansion over there. Jagged Appliance, not Jagged Appliance, Whiteheart's ACU as well, moving to the expansion just to ensure control. Then on the north side, we've got Jagged Appliance heavily assisting his air factory to get that transport out as early as possible. Engineer going to the left and to the right, same as on the south. ACU is not going to move for Jagged Appliance, I think. Yeah, he's going to stay in his base. Transport already out for Whiteheart. I'm trying to focus on too many things at once, and my brain is running away from my tongue, so let me make sure that I'm on the right page here. Whiteheart's going to be dropping to the core mechs group over on this side, and then he's going to be contesting the island with a secondary drop. Jagged Appliance is going aggressive, carrying 6 engineers, a full load all the way to this edge, and he is going to try to get land factories down, I'm sure, and contest this island. It's interesting that both of these players are dropping short of the mass extractors. I would have probably dropped on one mass extractor or another so that I could get the mechs up, then the factory. It only takes a split second to build the mass extractor, and then you get adjacency on the factory from that point forward. But neither of them are directly dropping the core mechs group. I would imagine because that's the first place that a bomber would go, and people are going to assume that they need to look there in order to kill the things. We've got 5 engineers versus 3. And this tank is now going to reverse course and drop in order to threaten Jagged Appliance's engineers. So it's very advantageous that Petrick was carrying that tank. However, Point Defense is going to go down, might lose 1 engineer, but this is going to survive as a drop. Tank's going to run away. Point Defense completes, and T1PD is not going to kill the tank due to an inadequate amount of intel, but there it is for the kill anyway. 2 land factories down, tank already out of the factory, probably going to go for Zooies. Yes, Zooey queued there, tank from the other. If they can kill this point defense fast enough, they might still be able to get this done. Jagged Appliance getting very unlucky on his factory placement, having to reclaim a tree. It's going to cost him quite a bit of time, and now he's going to be behind in his production. So Petrick may still be able to make this work. He's also got radar down so that he can see exactly where units are coming online. Zooey's going to go after the engineer on this side to reduce the build power potential, and then go for the auto gun. You'll notice that the artillery was queued to fire 1 shot at the engineer and then immediately reprioritized the point defense. Land factories online, Mantis coming out to try and defend the base. We do have radar as well, but nope, it's not going to work out. So now a shift in strategy. Jagged Appliance is going to try to reclaim the factory, end as much mass as he can. He's not going to be successful. He needs to control K that. No. All right, it's going to die. I was about to say, he doesn't want cyber and tech to fall into the hands of his opponent. You always want to try to protect your faction from capture, but there is no worry there. That is the end of that. So Jagged Appliance attempted a very aggressive drop, and I think paid a price for it. We've got roughly even mass on both sides now. But Petrick is going to pull ahead very quickly indeed, because he has all of his engineers. He's got land factories established. He'll be able to move out and capture this entire island very quickly. He's already captured the majority of his island on the right, 49 to 41, 51 to 41. You can see it climbing exponentially. And now we've got a counter drop from Whiteheart on the right. So Jagged Appliance is going to have to contest this island as well, since he lost time on the left-hand side. And kudos to Petrick for keeping up the aggression as much as possible. We've got 5 engineers versus 5 engineers. Land Factory is going to complete first for Jagged Appliance, though, it would appear. He has abandoned his mechs build in order to... Oh my goodness! Really? He control K'd the transport over the engineers to deal damage so that if he gets a tank out early, he can kill the engineers more easily. That is ridiculous. I love it though. That's a interesting way to use your units there, bud. Very interesting indeed. 2 land factories online. Mantis is out first. Thams are going to sit tight. Looks like another Tham in production. If you micro that Mantis, you might be a little bit better off. But as things stand, the Tham is going to win. Looks like that Mantis was headed out for the engineers. If that had been a first artillery, it would have done much better. We're also seeing an air win for Jagged Appliance. No, there are an even number of interceptors. 3 to 2, 3 to 3, 3 to 4. Looks like an air win for Petrick, unless things keep shifting. Another Mantis got through to the back and succeeded in killing one of the engineers, so it is now 5 engineers versus 4. 3 land factories for each player, but a 4th coming online for Petrick, a 4th dropping now for Jagged Appliance. 720 power is going to put Jagged Appliance in the lead, but he is still power stalling thanks to an excessive build queue. Petrick, on the other hand, is mass stalling and positive on 70 power, so Reclaim is going to determine whether he stalls or not. Both of these guys are running just about neck and neck in mass now, and Petrick is extending himself a little bit, going for this much build power on the island. We're now seeing a flip where Whiteheart was able to succeed in killing enough units where he's got a little bit of an advantage now, but we do have an auto gun up. That's going to start eliminating some of the enemy tanks. Going to have to devote the artillery fire to the point defense. There goes all of the engineers. So there's now no more build power available for Jagged Appliance on that island, and he's in a defensive position by force as of now. The artilleries are going to be free to kill off the land factories at will. Once you lock those sons of guns down, they're not able to produce units because the units die inside the factory. We've got 4 Mantis versus 3 Thams, but they've got to prioritize the artillery, knock those sons of guns out to protect the land factories. No, that's going to survive on 2 HP. 2 and succeed in getting off another shot. I think Jagged Appliance is going to lose that expansion. T1 bomber looping around, looking to destroy any hapless engineers that are available. And then on the left, we've got Zooey Push streaming across from the island, showcasing the strength of the Seraphim T1 hover as they eliminate some of the mass extractors on that island. Jagged Appliance did eventually move his ACU over to this corner of the map. He needs to abandon that T1 land factory build and kill these artillery. There it goes. Get rid of those. And then we've got Jesters on hand to try to push a little bit of early game aggression. Whiteheart in control of 87 mass per tick versus 67 for Jagged Appliance. Let's go take a look at the reclaim real quick. 700 versus 700. Nothing to really be observed there. And then on air units, let's take a look at Whiteheart, who is rocking 9 interceptors versus Jagged Appliance on 14, but 1 is out of fuel, and then 2 Jesters. So Jagged Appliance is pushing a pretty good air game right now. He is ahead. He's also got 2 naval factories versus 1 for Whiteheart, which may lead to some good things later on, but he's going to have to survive the artillery raiding first, because now Whiteheart is pushing in on his base to the right. This is bad news indeed, but it is still not an unwinnable situation. We've got engineers dropping here, might be able to develop a counter push, but I think that he's going to have to use some of those Jesters. No, he's not going to be able to, because we've already got T1 anti-air going down in the base, so that'll be able to deny relatively effectively. We've got T2 land up, which is building Wagners. We're going to start seeing some amphibious assaults in this map. If you get up a group of about 5 Wagners, should be able to push across to the other side, no problemo. But we've also got T2 hover tanks out for Petrick. Petrick appears to be going for a primarily land-based game, not really getting any Navy at all up. We do have another transport headed over towards the home base for Jagged Appliance. There is nothing in this area that can defend this. He's going to have to pull the Jesters back to his home base. He needs to do that as quickly as possible. We do have radar up. Interceptors moving now. Pull the Jesters. Pull the Jesters. You gotta move, man. You're not going to get those. You want to move that over and control K it? Same. 100 free damage on the tanks. All right, 2 Jesters moving over. Another up to the front. We've got 2 hover tanks now available for Petrick. No overcharge for Jagged Appliance, so he's going to have to be a little careful with his ACU. Also, there's not really enough power. Oh, there isn't enough power on Petrick. There's definitely enough power on Jagged Appliance to handle some overcharges. That would be due to loads of T1 power, but we do have a T2 air factory online as well now that will start getting T2 power generators up. Do we have T2 air from the other side? We do indeed. First engineer coming out, that'll get T2 power up, and then we'll see scaling on the air production. Over on the left-hand side, Jester's still struggling to contain this advance, but we've got multiple Zooeys and hover tanks moving in all different areas. The problem here is going to arise from the fact that the Wagners cannot shoot at things while they're under the water. They can when they're above. So the hover tanks can contest Navy. The Wagners really can't, because they only have, I think, 3 DPS or something stupid like that in torpedoes. Hashtag buff the Wagner. So the hover tanks are going to be able to go toe-to-toe with the frigates in a lot of cases. When you have narrow channels like this, it's harder for the frigates to retreat. You can get the tanks in range, and then they do pretty well for themselves. If you're out in the open water, the frigates are going to do better. But that isn't really relevant right now, because we have hover tanks moving directly into the base, specifically the T2 HQ. The Jagged Appliance works so hard to get, but we do have a couple of Wagners available that can do some defensive work. Over on the right, quite a bit of air. Should have an air win now. I think Petrick just lost a few interceptors if I saw that air engagement correctly. We've got 23 NTs for Petrick scattered all around the map to be able to pick up drops. And we've got 28 interceptors for Jagged Appliance. But the mass situation is not looking too good, yo. We've got 148 mass per tick versus 65. I think we can officially say that this is a lost cause, barring a miracle turnaround. because Whiteheart has got 4 out of the 6 islands almost completely under his control, although we now do have Wagner's moving in to raid these outside mexes. T2 mass extractor upgrades going down on the islands. That is a brazen move indeed. We've got caps over here, and now the Navy game comes into play. Whiteheart was able to tech up his mexes, get a massive amount of income, and then he'll be able to jump into the Navy all at once and just wholesale outproduce Jagged Appliance. Jagged is going for T2 gunships, which will do him quite well on this map. Seraphim does have hover flak, but obviously since it's a large map, you can't get hover flak everywhere at once, so you can just hop, skip, and jump around and kill whatever you very well please. The problem is going to come when the interceptor production on the other side of the map outpaces him due to him dumping all of this mass into gunships. I am not sure at what point that will take place, but it will probably be soon. He needs to be moving out into some of these other areas and trying to hamper efforts from Petrick. We've already got all of these T2 mass extractors up here. This could get very dangerous very quickly once the cruisers come online that I am sure will be built at some point soon. Petrick not actually scheduling more Navy. What are you planning, good sir? I do not know. More NTs being built, trying to get air control. Second T2 power. If we go take a look over on this side, we've got T2 support factories. T2 support factories everywhere. Mobile flak starting to roll off the production line. And it would appear that we are about to have an air engagement. Gunships going down to the NT's. Jagged Appliance not pulling his air force in time. This goes back to the whole discussion about APM on a large map. Because if you're not paying attention or if you're looking in a different area, then things can happen. Bad things can happen on one side of the map or the other. Looks like hover spam is the name of the game for Petrick. Moving up on the right, raiding all of these, effectively controlling the islands after he raids them, building those mechs up and taking advantage of the eco that they offer. 177 to 65, but the air is now firmly in control of Jagged Appliance is now firmly in control of air. That was a bad statement. Let me go check out the reclaim and see what's going on. 2,000 reclaim versus 4,000 reclaim. Not much reclaim to be had on this map, is there? It is scattered far and few. Looks like the gunships are going to go directly after this base. We do have a torpedo bomber out, which should be able to deal with the Wagners to some degree, but right now it is firing on a frigate over there. T2 power generator going to go down, but flak is going to be out of this factory in just a second. Gunships need to retreat because there's now a lot of AA coming online. Building T1 AA with the engineers, and then flak is at 70%. Going to succeed in killing one of the T2 mechs. Might succeed in killing 2 of the T2 mechs. That was a voice break and a half. 2 of the T2 mechs, but they're going to have to retreat before they finish it off. Good lord, I've been talking for too long for that to happen. Over on the right-hand side, we've got flak moving in, which is going to defeat the entire purpose of having gunships. Gunships falling fast from the sky. Renegades are quite nice because they do have area of effect, so if you're tearing into engineers and whatnot, you're going to kill many more than you can with other factions' gunships. However, they don't have any more DPS. So, oh my goodness, you're parking your NTs over flak. Why you do this thing to yourself? I think we are witnessing the end of the game. Yeah. Alright, looking at the map, I don't know that I see any way that this can be recovered. We've got mexes missing over here, effective raiding taking place all over the place. Then on the home island, we've got the main base falling. T2 power generator will go down momentarily. As soon as Petrick sees that, he will kill it. Yes. And air is still in the hands of Jagged Appliance, I think, but it's by a much narrower margin than it was before, thanks to the flak incident. And now there's only 2 gunships left on the entire map. So that is going to be the end of it. I'm going to fast forward this replay and get to the end. Where is the ACU? I do not see it. There you are. I was looking right at you. Going for T2 power, so he is not going to give up. At least not that easily. Looks like more hover tanks moving in. Still, Jagged Appliance was just barely able to win the air back on that, but his final gunship goes down as his interceptors wing over flak. Once again, the numbers keep dwindling. Dwindling hard. Frigates pouring out of the left factories, but I don't think he's going to be able to get enough in one spot to deny the 7 or so frigates that are in one area here, coupled with all of the hover. This is looking worse and worse as time goes on. T2 power generator coming online. Jagged Appliance still on 1K power income, so not too bad a shape as far as that goes, but we're at 89 mass per tick versus 202. Yeah, that is more than double the mass income of his opponent. This is a recurring theme in some of these games where we're seeing eco players go versus the aggressive players, and the eco players are able to pull it out by sheer force of attrition later on in the game. Build power dying for Jagged Appliance. That is going to completely push him out of the Navy, and we're seeing units closing in on the last bastion of Jagged Appliance's ACU. There's a single Cerberus turret online, but I don't think that's going to be enough to deny what is coming his way. We've also got a T2 drop for Petrick, just rubbing it in as hard as he possibly can, trying to delete as many portions of the map as possible. Factory's gonna go down. Nothing to do in the base. Building energy storage to try and save his commander. But it is a losing battle for sure. 69 mass per tick to 231. We're almost to the quadruple eco phase. Torpedo bombers finishing off the naval factories. And I do believe that that is all she wrote. Is it gonna be a control K or is it gonna be a kill? It is probably going to end up being a control K. Nope, we've got T2 gunships moving in. Yeah, for the people in the chat asking for advice about FAF and thinking about things like that, there is a link to the Discord below the video where there is a pretty good chunk of the FAF community and a whole lot of people that play a whole lot of different games, mainly strategy ones, that hang out on the server. So it is a pleasure to talk to people there, and it's also quite a bit easier to find games if you're able to ping people in the looking for game chat over there. Works pretty decently, I would say. All right, Cruiser is now locking the air factory. This is one of those reasons that you don't want units close to your base, because with every impact of attack missile, it kills the unit that it's producing in the factory, and you will never again get an air unit out of that factory. It's kind of the same thing you can do to naval factories with the cruiser, or even land factories, depending on the faction. Kaboom! Kaboom! They keep coming! I like how the gunships aren't even focus firing the ACU. Why you do this thing? And here comes flak. I think Jagged Appliance is just going to make this as painful as possible to win. That is not what I intended to do. I think that I'm already caught up with the live replay, so I don't think... Yeah, we're not going to be able to speed it up. That's how you measure the game ticks in FAF. Because when you, when it hitches, that means that the information is being issued, and then it fast forwards through half a second, and then it stops again, and then fast forwards through half a second and stops again. That's the interval. That is the reason that anything under 500 milliseconds on ping works in FAF, because it is a it is a 500 millisecond fixed relay. Doesn't matter if you're transferring the information at 60 millisecond ping, it's still going to take 500 milliseconds for the synchronized game ticks to take place. Alright, that is a seizure of the live replay, so I do believe that we can conclude that about 1 minute into the future, Jagged Appliance has met his doom. Probably due to the Corsairs that are pounding away on his base as we see. No, that is not a Corsair, that is a Notha. So I'm going to call that one a win. Well played, Jagged Appliance and Whiteheart. Whiteheart just got the upper hand. If Jagged had not gone for this expansion, maybe played a little bit more traditionally, he might have done better. Or if things had gone slightly differently, I'm talking about just a couple of artillery shots difference at the beginning of the game, where either this expansion or this expansion survives, it would have been much better off. But that is the way that the cookie crumbles. All right, GG to both of you. That is gonna wrap everything up for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, feel free to drop a like and share it with someone. If you want to support the channel, catch the streams, or join the Discord, check out the links in the description. Thank you all for being at least partially insane, and I will see you in the next one.